Hello, hello. This is TK Bree, bringing you into 2020 with some new format deck lists.
Yeah.
So we have Tom here. We played locals this morning, and some of you will have seen live stream games from that. And he brought everybody's favorite, Burning Abyss. We back, boys.
Well, we've been waiting for so long for this list to drop, and I had to do it. So.
And boy, howdy, did we get some did we get some spice from that list? So.
Yeah. So this isn't quite the same list that I played for locals today. Yep. The list that I played at locals was literal zero testing, putting cards together as we arrived. Round one pairings are up. Hand me the cards.
We feel like this'll do. So
yep. So I was actually really surprised that it went as well as it did. I ended up finishing 4-1. Yep. So I got like a top 4 locals finish, which doesn't really mean anything, but. The critical thing was that the deck actually worked better than I expected it to. Yeah. So I took what I've learned from today. I've made a couple of changes to how I'm putting it together, and I'll give a little more explanation of what I've changed when I get there. But yeah, we'll just get into the profile. We are playing 2 Tour Guide from the Underworld.
Oh, baby, she's back.
Little disclaimer to anyone that gets very protective about what counts as BA. You won't think this counts as BA. I'm playing 1 Graph, 1 Seer, and 1 Libic. So, the standard recently has been to be playing Tour Guide, these, a Rhino Warrior, and a Farfa. Mm-hmm. Rhino Warrior is most useful because it puts an Earth in the grave for Block Dragon. We're not about that life. And Farfa is good because it turns your Beatrice into a piece of interaction. Beatrice doesn't do much when you're going blind second.
Yeah. So this is hard second, Boral Sword kill.
Yep. Yeah. That's what I'm about.
Which is definitely a strategy you've liked before.
Yeah, it's my jam. We have Predaplants as the rest of my normal summons. Searching for fusion spells is really good. And now that we have Super Poly in the mix, there's a lot more that you can do with searching for fusion or polymerization spell cards.
Yeah, so you weren't happy with Tour Guide to 2.
I was pretty pleased with Tour Guide to 2, but we need to have other ways of having some nice normal summons that will get me into my Cherubini.
And this deck is much more reliant on its normal summon to actually get the first few level 3s on board.
Yeah, if you're going the Cherubini route, it is almost always going to be one of these 2 that's getting you there.
Yeah, sure.
We have Sea Archiver. He's just a really strong card. The ability to use it as a rank 3 and keep it in circulation, or use it as a link material because most of the games are like one shot anyway. Yeah. And it's another thing that's good to send with your Cherubini if you started with the Tour Guides, you've already got these 2 in play.
Yep.
We have some level 3 extenders for when your opening play gets hand-trapped. You'll note that I am not playing Gallus, because without Sekka's Light, the payoff for playing a deck that is so many monster cards just isn't really there anymore. Yeah. So I'm not going to artificially limit the number of spells that I'm going to play, just so that I can fit in Gallus, particularly when I don't need extra Earths anyway. So these, in a vacuum, are a little bit worse than Gallus, but they just mean that my deck building is much more free in terms of choices that I can make at other stages.
Yeah, the reason to play Monster Mash was Sekka's Light, and then you only played Gallus because you were already playing Sekka's Light.
Yeah. These don't work if your first normal summon gets hand trapped, because you need to have made it to the Cherubini. But once you get to the Cherubini, this card is broken. So Cherubini stops the monsters that are under it from being destroyed by card effects. So you can just summon out your Cherubini, summon one of these underneath it, activate the effect, target itself and an opponent's card, destroy them. This can't be destroyed by card effects. That guy still can, though.
Yep, so free extender plus pop.
Yeah, it is exactly the kind of thing that you need in this sort of deck.
Seems pretty reasonable.
Only play 2, partly for space reasons, and partly because you can't resolve the summon or the effect of them more than once per turn.
Yeah, you realistically need to have a live 6-card hand, or at least sort of 5 of your cards.
Destrudo, live in hand, live in grave.
Yep.
Great discard for your Predaplants. And if we're going second, we're playing the Meme.
The easiest way to borrow sword.
Yep. We have Gizmek. If you watched some of my games from today, you will know that this is both the best and the worst card in the deck. It is the best because in a slightly slower metagame, having something that just recurs itself every single turn is nuts.
Yep.
The free value that you get off this is absolutely insane. The downside is that it banishes your Meme, it banishes your Darlingtonia Cobra, it banishes your Seer or your Graph, and then things aren't looking so good anymore.
Yeah.
But you just need to be careful about when you use it. You either get the things that you need out of the deck beforehand, or you're using it because your back's against the wall, so you were going to lose if you didn't anyway. Either way, you'd rather use it than not.
And you're perfectly happy just blind summoning Gizmek from your hand when your opponent's going first on the first turn?
Oh, yeah. There are possibly some hands. If I had, say, a Destrudo and a Predaplant in hand, I would be looking at that and thinking, I'm only summoning this if I feel that I have to.
Yep.
But if you don't already have the cards in hand that get punished by summoning this on your opponent's first turn, then you just slam it down. Yep. We have 3 Dark Armed Dragon. I summoned 2 at once in a game today, and
what year is this?
Welcome to 2020. We are transcending it's okay to have 2 dads, and you can now just have 3. This card is really good, and if the game does drag on a little bit longer, having the first one and going through it means that you're more likely to be an appropriate number of darks to summon the successive ones.
The first one conveniently sets up the second and third.
It's just a really bonkers card to have. So my favorite cards are things like Dark Armed and Destrudo, where they are the best last card in your hand.
Yeah.
Because you play out all of your normal stuff and you 1-for-1 with your opponent's cards, and then you're trying to get them to a point where they've run out of interaction.
And then you need that one last card to actually clear up the board and actually push for...
If this is the last thing in your hand and you can summon it when your opponent runs out of interaction, they're just like, ooh. And yeah, that is exactly the kind of thing I like. And unlike Levianeer, it comes down, it clears boards, and it still attacks for a lot of damage.
And it can destroy a lot more cards than Levianeer.
Fantasmic. This card matches up greatly with Meme, Darlingtonia Cobra, and the Burning Abyss monsters that you don't want to have in your hand.
It is the opposite of Gizmek.
And it also helps you draw into your Nibiru's.
Huh.
People are doing a lot of special summoning. Nibiru's are good against that kind of thing.
Yep.
Going second, giving them a big token to ram into you with your Boral Sword, not an issue.
Not the worst. That's a good line.
Yep. I'm very happy having some space to be able to play real hand traps.
And then, because a lot of the combo decks got a lot worse, we feel that a lot of the combo decks are now substantially more vulnerable to Nibiru.
Yeah.
Like, Luna Light can't make As Thought first. A lot of decks struggle a lot harder to get to Appaloosa early in their combo, or a lot of the end boards are now a lot more on the table. Like, Heroes just cannot be that card ever.
And that's it for my monsters. So there's 32 monsters in total, and I think I played 8 spell cards. So we've got 2 Super Polys and 2 Instant Fusions.
It's why 2 of these.
So the reason behind the 2s here is I think that opening with 1 of each is always, well, 1 of either or both is always good to have.
Yep.
For Super Poly, we have access to, this is for Instant Fusion, we have Thousand Eyes Restrict and Winder. And for Super Poly, we have Starving Venom and Mud Dragon. So earlier today, I was just playing the 2 Super Polys and no Instant Fusions. But when you're forced to play first, searching Super Poly isn't all that. So I'd rather just end on Cherubini and Winder to lock out any special summon decks in that way.
Yep, similar enough to Dinky or Sealock.
But even going first or second, the first copy of this is good. Having a second that's searchable is really nice.
Yeah.
So you could play as little as 1 and 1 of these, but I decided that they were just good to have a single copy of.
Cards you drew.
Yeah. You don't want to play multiples because this deck is all about having as many live cards in hand as possible. Yeah. And whilst you can technically play 2 of these in a turn, the cost is too high to make it realistic that you want both. Yeah. And you physically can't play both of these in a turn, so you only ever want to see 1.
Yep.
any duplicates, it's like you just had one card less in your hand. 2 Mind Control. We're going second. We're trying to kill you. This card is still bonkers with link monsters.
Still going to play the first 2.
Yep. And finally, 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Foolish Burial. Like, there's not a lot to say about these cards. They're just good.
Just good.
In the extra deck, yeah, we've got the 4 fusions. This gives you coverage for most decks. Obviously, it doesn't get everything. There's a possibility that you'd want to consider playing other targets in your side deck once we know a little bit more about how the meta shapes up. But this is coverage for most things. This is great going second. This is great going first. Or if you don't need the 1,000 dice restrict, you can just throw it out as a blank material. We have, for the links, a Boral Sword, an Appaloosa as the link force. Unicorn, Phoenix, and Cerberus. We're just trying to clear out their board and kill them.
Yep.
There are a lot of ways to set up co-link draws, which is really nice. Drawing into cards like Dark Armed or Destrudo is great.
Yeah, the majority of your deck is live when drawn after the fact.
Masquerena, real nice card. It gives you a little bit more options when you're going first.
Yep.
Cherubini is obviously the card that you are going for. Linkuribo to play off with my Yazi. Then I have Dante. And the last card in the extra deck is not Beatrice, it's a Dawn Dragster. You don't summon Beatrice. I played Beatrice in my extra deck today, and I never summoned it. We played through 5 rounds, I played a lot of games, and I never even really considered summoning the Beatrice. And so I just decided that it probably isn't needed when you're going second. I'm never summoning it with 2 level 6s, so I'd have to be using Dante and a discard. I'd probably save my discard for activating my Nightmare effects and just have the Dante as a body. I don't think that there's any reason to play it when you can't use the effect.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to be playing anything to summon off it when it dies, so
yeah,
just ignore it.
Like for the locals, you were playing the Farfa and the Beatrice.
Yeah.
And just came to the conclusion that they were just not where you want to be.
I never summoned the Beatrice, and I never got any real value from using the effect of the Farfa. So I felt that they were just adding dead weight to the deck, and I'd rather play cards that get me closer to achieving what I'm actually trying to achieve.
Yep.
And Instant Fusion feels like it's much more in that vein. On the note of changes that we made from locals earlier today, I was playing Cooled by the Grave, and I felt like it was a bit of a mistake. It's not a card that works well when you're playing blind second, particularly when the hand traps that people are playing don't reliably get stopped by Cooled by the Grave.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Infinite Impermanence, there's a lot of Nibiru, there's a lot of Phantasme.
Yep.
You're not doing anything against those.
Yeah, Ash Blossom is realistically the only target you have. Which is very good,
But you can't be playing Cooled by the Grave just to deal with Ash Blossom. Yeah. You'd rather just try and play through an Ash Blossom, difficult as that may be, but you got to go for it. In the side deck, we have 3 Kaijus, just for taking out monster threats.
Yep.
I was siding 3 Dark Ruler No More, but that card reads, you cannot win the game, because you can't damage them that turn, and this isn't a deck that's waiting around to kill them next turn. Yeah. You just want to get it one and done. You
don't break boards and then put up your own unbreakable board, you actually just need to kill them.
Yep. We have a Baba. If somehow the game goes long, you want to have access to this so you can do some damage in the main phase. Drawn and Lockbird. The 2 decks that look like they're coming out really strong from the list are Heroes and Spirals. They both get shut down pretty hard by this card.
Yeah.
It seems like a really good thing to have in your side deck. I'm expecting this to be new format Lancia in that it's just everywhere because the good decks get shut down so hard by it.
Yeah.
I'm siding the 3rd Super Poly because when it's good, it's great.
Yeah.
I've got 3 Twin Twisters and 1 Red Reboot for anything that's putting out lots of back row.
You're not going to not play it.
And Anti-Spell Fragrance for matches where you expect to be told to go first.
Yeah, sure.
Most everything at the moment is using spell cards to great effect, so having something that you can put down to try and time walk your opponent and be able to take the 3rd turn and do what you wanted to do on the 2nd turn, it's good.
Yep, you felt like Anti-Spell was the best one over like Sanctum or other Floodgates.
So this isn't necessarily the best one, but it seemed at the time like a really good choice, particularly when you're considering decks like Pendulum are likely to be coming through.
Yeah.
And also Lunar Light can't play its Tigers with this.
That's the main consideration, to not play Order instead of Anti-Spell.
Yeah. I think that the card's really good. It could be a different Floodgate, but this was the one that seemed off the top of my head like it was the most sensible, and it's also great to have as an option if you ever have a matchup where you think that you just can't win going second. You can try and catch people off guard, put these in, and hope that you can choose a win that way.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my new format list. It's actually considerably stronger than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was just putting together a deck list sort of out of, you know what, we'll try it. But I was pleasantly surprised by how strong this is. It could definitely perform well at a regional level and maybe even more. A lot of it depends on how the format shapes up. If we find ourselves in a metagame where everyone's starting with Abyss Dweller, maybe it's not the one.
Probably not the guy.
I don't think that Heroes can do that, because obviously they're locked into Heroes, and I don't think that Spiral's going to do that, so
nope.
Maybe we're in a format where this actually lines up pretty nicely, and I, for one, am excited for that concept. So
any world without Abyss Dweller is a happier world for everybody.
Yeah, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. I hope you've enjoyed the profile. I certainly really enjoyed playing the deck. It was the first time in a long time that I've played BA and felt, yeah, this is actually a deck that I'm comfortable playing and feels like it has something going for it. So drop any comments down below, like the video, subscribe, show me what you think, and yeah, send me your lists, see what's working this time. I know that this is really quite different to most of what we've seen. It was taking inspiration from a PPG list, I think, a couple weeks back, but it's very different to the block dragon route that seems to be what most people are going for lately.
Yep. And then just the usual plug, we're all going to be playing a lot more Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the next few weeks, given the new start of the new format. Yeah. So there'll be a lot more locals, so hopefully a lot more live streams to bring you. So stay tuned. We'll be shouting them out on social media as the usual.
And yeah, shout out to the team and to Card Market for being a really good sponsor to us. Yep. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.